Today we had about 3 dozen of the stakeholders of this region. Some United States government, some state of Nevada, some state of California, and community activists get together for a discussion. We met at the south end of the lake. We heard from Ms. Marchetti and the Tahoe Regional Plan. We heard from Jared Blumenfeld of the EPA. We talked about some of the major problems and advances facing the lake. The two governors then met, Governor Brown, Governor Sandoval, to discuss how they could collaborate together further, and I'm very happy to say that that was a very positive meeting. Last night, we began a major effort to raise private sector money through the Tahoe Fund right across the street at the West Shore in what was a beautiful, beautiful evening. And I'm very proud to announce that that raised $200,000 to help. And my husband and I made a contribution, and Governor Sandoval, 2 Nevadans matched it. So now we have a 50-50 participation, so that's just great. This is the 15th summit, as I've said. The series began in 1997, when Majority Leader Harry Reid had an idea and brought President Clinton and Vice President Gore to the lake. And that provided the stimulus to launch a major effort to restore this great lake. We pledged ourselves to keep the basin pristine, to try to keep the lake's waters as clear as we could, its trees from being burned, to restore its streams and prevent erosion into the lake. 97 was a pivotal year for Tahoe. And now, 15 years later, I think 2011 will prove to be another defining year. This is the final year of federal funding from the Lake Tahoe Restoration Act, which I'll speak about in a moment. And we're facing great economic uncertainty throughout our country, on the federal level, on state level, on local levels. These strains on government, on businesses, and on families make the partnerships that we're able to create here even more important than they have ever been. And so I hope we leave here today re-energized. We have had some new challenges in this time. We have seen invasive species come into the lake. We have seen quagga mussels, Asian clams, milfoil. We've had a setback this past year on water clarity. Just as the lake has risen 3 feet, its clarity has declined by 3 feet. So why? Yesterday we heard it was small particles of sediment entering the lake, allegedly from the more urban areas. Transportation needs loom larger, and catastrophic fire remains a deep concern. How to protect lives and property from people who love this basin. We have many accomplishments. Let me mention some of them. We have spent $1.55 billion to restore Lake Tahoe in the past 10 years. We have carried out 366 projects. We have installed erosion control measures on 501 miles of roadways throughout the Tahoe Basin. We have treated 45,000 plus acres, that's 70 square miles, of hazardous fuels in forests near homes, businesses, and communities. That's an area the size of San Francisco. We have restored 24 square miles of wildlife habitat all around the lake, from the lake shore to its highest points. That's an area larger than New York's Manhattan Island. And we have added 2,500 linear feet of shoreline for public access all around the lake. And we have created 134 miles of bike and pedestrian routes linking key sections of the existing trail network. Now, I use the word we because it really is we. It's been a massive federal, state. Nevada has been an active participant by putting up land that they have sold, the funds from that into rehabilitation. The Forest Service has put parts of their budget here. California has put money into this. And so we have made, I think, a great deal of progress. One of my major concerns has been catastrophic fire. We were here when the Angora fire burned, and some of my staff were staying up at the north end one year when there was a fire, and we realized just how sensitive this basin is. If the westerly winds roar across these mountains, burning everything in its place, we ruin the lake, in addition to creating huge problems for the lives of individuals and their properties. So wildfire and the creation of defensible space around homes has been a major priority. And I'd like to introduce to you the fire chiefs around this Great Lake who have instituted these defensible space programs that have been so successful. And if you would stand, you're not wearing your blue dress, but I see those white shirts out there. Chief Gareth Harris of Lake Valley Fire, welcome. Chief Guy Lefevre of Tahoe Douglas Fire, not here. Chief Mike Brown of Incline Fire, great tie. Chief Lorenzo Gigliotti of South Lake Tahoe Fire. John Pang of Meeks Bay Fire. Hi, John. Great tie, too. Wow. Chief Gary Jaron of Fallen Leaf Fire. Welcome, sir. Chief Dwayne Whitelaw of North Tahoe Fire. Dwayne represented the fire chiefs at the stakeholders discussion yesterday, and I'm sure he can fill you in more on fire defense as well. And finally, we have Ken Pinlot, the director of CAL FIRE, who was recently appointed by Governor Brown, and I think will bring a new era of collaboration and help from California's great state fire department. So what does the future hold for us? Thank you. A big round of applause. I forgot. For you. I think many of you recall the bill that the two senators from California and Senator Reid introduced with Richard Bryan, who was then senator from Nevada, in the year 2000. That law authorized $300 million for Lake Tahoe projects of federal monies. In March, Senator Reid, Senator Boxer, and I introduced a bill to reauthorize that law, the Lake Tahoe Restoration Act. We now have a new senator from the state of Nevada. He is here with us today, Dean Heller, and I hope that he will join as a co-sponsor of that legislation as well. But we face a very different environment than a decade ago. And as I said, spending is being cut across all areas. So we've got to adapt to a new fiscal reality by building excellent private-public partnerships. The new reality is that funding is limited, and while the private sector is already a valuable partner, candidly, we must ask more from the ski industry, from resorts, and from homeowners. Lake Tahoe is something so special, ladies and gentlemen. There are only 2 clear water lakes in the world, and Nevada and California have one of them. So we have been given a good legacy. We must not forsake it. And now I will move on. I would like to introduce our next speaker, California Governor Jerry Brown. It's been 36 years since he first took office as governor. And during his time in Sacramento, as an elected official and in several capacities, he's been a champion for the environment. Among his many accomplishments, Governor Brown signed into law the California Coastal Protection Act. He helped gain federal protection of Northern California's wild and scenic rivers. He brought about California's first building and appliance energy efficiency standards. He has helped California become the leader in solar and alternative energy. And because I'm a former mayor, I really think you don't know anything till you've been a mayor. And I can say that he was a great mayor for the city of Oakland. So it's a pleasure for me to introduce my friend and the governor of the state of California, Jerry Brown.
I noticed you all laughed when Diane mentioned the 36-year period since I last sought the governorship. Let me tell you, 36 years is no laughing matter. It's very, very serious, but I'm not going to discuss that today. I just want to talk about the lake, about all of us together, and about how we have to collaborate to preserve the incredible splendor of Lake Tahoe. And it's not going to be easy. We have developed in all our affluence and progress and technology a lot of habits that don't work so well for other species and for the natural balance on which this lake has depended for eons. It's well to note that the first peoples who came to Lake Tahoe were here about 10,000 years ago. Think about that when we think of 36 years versus 10,000. So we need a little sense of duration here, and maybe that sense of get it now and grab it and instantaneous gratification. That definitely can drive various enterprises forward, but that's not the way nature works. Nature requires a balance. The human body needs homeostasis. That's a balance. The cells, the microbes, the organisms, the materials that we take into the body for our sustenance, all this requires a balance. And when there's an imbalance, the organism suffers and ultimately dies. But new organisms come. New political organisms come too, so that's why I don't worry if I have another 36 years, although I'm going to try. But the lake itself is going to require investment, and not just private investment, but it takes public investment. And that's very difficult because our parties, our states, our country are divided. They just are. There's different points of view. Now, as we try to come to decisions about what kind of collective public investments we make, we have science, we have research, we have some things we call facts, although even the facts are disputable. But after we get as best science we can, we still have to come down to our values, our sense of the good, our sense of life itself. And so I see the struggle to preserve Lake Tahoe as part of the larger struggle, as we as very different human beings work out how we're going to make our way. And when you think of California, this is a state that not too many years ago had a fraction of the people that we have today, and a fraction of the cars, a fraction of the stuff moving through the system. So as we discuss the particular steps that have to be taken, we ought to see this as part of the larger undertaking that we as Californians, as Nevadans, as Americans, as human beings have to embark upon. We're in a very exciting time, a lot of risk, a lot of danger. And I think the lake stands as a microcosm of the larger issues that we face as a people. So I really come today to join in these environmental discussions. And just to get to the practical point, we want to build stuff and we want to plan. Now, if we plan too much, we're never going to build anything. And if we build too much, we're not going to have very good plans. So somehow we got to square that circle, and we have to have the builders and the environmentalists, like the lion and the lamb, lie down together and somehow come up with a game plan that will keep Tahoe economically and environmentally sane, sound, and sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the plan that the governor spoke of will be the Tahoe Regional Plan that is being done by the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, and it is due out the end of 2012. We all hold them to that deadline. As the governor spoke, it is extraordinarily important that there be a roadmap, that people have some certainty about what is going to happen with this lake. Now, the governor of Nevada has dedicated his career to public service, and he knows a great deal about the lake. After receiving his law degree, Brian Sandoval served as Nevada's at-large member of the Tahoe Regional Planning Governing Board. He has also been a federal district court judge for the past 4 years, and I had the great pleasure of voting for him. Since he was elected, confirm him, and he was elected since he's been elected last year, he's been very active in many environmental issues. And what's really impressed me is he took the time to take a day in June to survey current restoration programs in preparation for this summit. And let me note that he was born in Redding, California. So that should be helpful in bringing the two sides together as well. So it's a great deal of pleasure to introduce the governor of the great state of Nevada, Brian Sandoval.
Good morning, everyone. It's truly a pleasure to be here. Senator, I'll take your vote any day. And we spoke of Governor Brown, and having served 36 years ago as the governor of the great state of California, I leaned over to him and told him that I remember that as I was entering the 7th grade. But it is a privilege to be here. I do want to make some acknowledgments before I get into my formal remarks. I had the remarkable experience of coming over here this morning on the Thunderbird yacht from the Wattell estate, and it is, I guess, majestic is the best word that I can describe for that boat. I want to thank Bill Watson and Joan Gibb for hosting us and the crew of the Thunderbird. It truly was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I also want to tell the Washoe tribe what a privilege it is to be on your ancestral land. It's very, again, a privilege to be here with you today, and that was a wonderful, wonderful prayer that we heard this morning. I also want to thank Colleen and Art Chapman for hosting this great event today. I don't know how more beautiful that it gets than this, and I leaned over to Senator Reid, and I may give that hill a go this winter if you'll have me. And also, the Senator mentioned the Tahoe Fund event last night, and there are a lot of people here that are extremely generous. They all share in this joint commitment to preserve and protect Lake Tahoe. An amazing event, and the senator last night, she was speaking, and it was a bit surreal because we were all wondering where the moon was. And as she was speaking, it crested over the mountains, and it was just one of the most beautiful sights I've ever seen. It was perfect timing for you, Senator. But it is my pleasure to attend this Tahoe Summit. As the senator mentioned, I did once serve on the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency. I've been coming to this lake since I was a little boy in 4th grade to the 4-H camp, which is on South Lake Tahoe. That is really what ingrained in me how important it is to preserve the beauty of Tahoe. It's an honor to be here with Senator Feinstein, with Governor Brown, with Senator Reid, Senator Heller. It is, I believe, a historic event for all of us to be together in one place one day. We did have an opportunity yesterday after that luncheon to sit in a room and begin discussions. I probably will overuse the word today, remarkable, but it was a great conversation both the governor and the senator used the word collaborative, and I think that's an apt word because we are going to work very, very well in the future. As the senator mentioned, earlier this summer I had an opportunity to tour a significant portion of the east and north shore of Lake Tahoe with Department of Conservation and Natural Resources Director Leo Drozdoff. And Leo, where are you, Leo? I thought I saw you over here. You know, I think you deserve a big hand for the commitment that you've made to Lake Tahoe and the hard work that you've put into the summit. I very much admire and respect your commitment and your willingness to work across state lines and with my office as well. Thank you very much, Leo. So one person doesn't do it alone. I had the chance to meet many members of the Nevada Tahoe resource team and visit many of the projects which the team has worked on through the years since the implementation of the Environmental Improvement Program, the EIP. I'm proud to say that the state of Nevada was the first to commit to its share of both the first and second phases of the EIP for a total of more than $180 million. Nevada's here for this. During the tour, I saw firsthand the Nevada Division of Forestry crews working in Tunnel Creek to improve forest health and to help protect communities by reducing the threat of catastrophic fire. And I want to compliment our firemen today for your commitment to this basin. Perhaps I'm going to borrow one of those ties. Those are great ties, but thank you, gentlemen, for your service here. I also had an opportunity to witness a boat inspection, and the senator mentioned about the quagga mussels, and that was a new commitment also that has been completed. There's a boat inspection station right there at the top of Spooner Summit. And again, it's one thing to hear about things, but it's another to watch them and see how careful they were and how important that is. If you talk to some folks, they don't think that clams and mussels are important. They are. They are a big threat to Lake Tahoe. And to see them up there and the commitment of the staff to make sure that none of those boats enter, and in fact they were able to see one or find one and prevent it from coming into Lake Tahoe, so we should give a big hand for them for their hard work. I also had the chance this summer to meet with agency partners and members of the private sector who are committed to infrastructure redevelopment in the basin's urban centers. These infrastructure updates are a necessary part of addressing many of the challenges in meeting water clarity targets. We now have a plan that will enable us to more clearly focus our efforts to restore Lake Tahoe's famous water clarity. It is known as the Lake Tahoe TMDL, or Total Maximum Daily Load. The Tahoe TMDL represents many years of effort, an unprecedented collaboration resulting in groundbreaking determinations and scientific breakthroughs. Many of you who are here today played a very key role in this major accomplishment, and I think we should stop at this point and also acknowledge all of that effort and all of that investment, because I think everyone is recognized, and we talked about this yesterday, is the biggest threat to clarity now is the arrival of that sediment into the lake. So this TMDL is a very big deal. Thank you. Now, there's one more issue that I want to go into. I'm very proud to recognize the fact that Nevada jurisdictions and the Nevada private sector have been leading efforts in the basin to implement public-private partnerships to improve Tahoe's clarity. With the capital cost of achieving the TMDL Clarity Challenge estimated to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars, public-private partnerships may be our best hope of making progress. I want to talk about one project that's an example of this collaboration. It is the Lake Village EIP number 679, Phase 2, led by Douglas County. In 2005, a local Nevada business, Sierra Colina, initiated the project by privately funding an engineering study. This public-private project will remediate severe erosion and drainage issues along Lake Village Drive in State Line, which caused significant sediment transmission and extensive flooding on Highway 50 during storm events. Private parties have donated their private land for public stormwater treatment facilities. The resulting system will treat both Lake Village Drive public stormwater runoff and Sierra Colina's own runoff from its future lead green residential neighborhood of deed restricted and market homes. And upon its completion this fall, this one environmental improvement project in Douglas County's estimation will reduce sediment loads into the lake by over 74 tons per year. And I want to recognize Gail Jaquish and Steve Kenniger for your commitment to Lake Tahoe. Give them a big hand. Early this summer, I signed into law Senate Bill 271, which I know has been the subject of much discussion. This is a law that generated much discussion and means different things to different audiences. However, one key component of the bill is a call for the adoption of an updated regional plan by the end of 2012. Nevada is committed to doing its part to see that this much needed update is completed by the deadline. The basin needs a regional plan that not only sets a framework for success in achieving the water clarity targets outlined in the TMDL, but also creates an environment of certainty for homeowners and private sector investment. I firmly believe that it is essential and achievable to develop an updated regional plan that provides the opportunity to invest in Lake Tahoe community infrastructure while still improving the environment. And I have no doubt that working together, we will be able to report back at next year's summit that significant progress has been made on an updated regional plan. In closing, as I mentioned, we've already begun a cooperative and collaborative process between the states. Again, I want to compliment Governor Brown and Senator Feinstein. We were already talking about myself visiting Sacramento and meeting with legislators, and Governor Brown coming to Carson City to meet with our legislators. I think the best is yet to come. I do have a small souvenir for the senator and the governor. As I rode on the Thunderbird, I thought the next opportunity that I had to do that I should be doing it with Senator Feinstein and Governor Brown. But I thought at this point I would send them a postcard. And it says, to the governor and to the senator, I look forward to working with you on Tahoe. All the best. Your friend Brian Sandoval. I'll personally deliver these for each of you. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's truly a privilege and honor to be here. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Governor Sandoval. If I had to have one phrase to describe the next speaker, it would be never sell him short. Harry Reid is the majority leader of the United States Senate. He presides over the Democratic caucus. We, unlike Republicans that tend to come together much more easily, we are a large, fractious caucus. And I suspect he has to drink his share of milk of magnesia after he finishes one of the meetings. But I have never seen him lose his cool. I have seen his staying power, his drive, his motivation, and his ability to be effective now for a long, long time. He's an amazing man. Born in Searchlight, Nevada, of a humble family, working his way up in the state legislature, as lieutenant governor, as a lawyer, and as a boxer. If you look at his hands, you can see the hands. Well, he's not showing the hands of a boxer. But he can be tough, and he is very good at what he does. And I think we owe the Tahoe Restoration Act to the majority leader, to the fact that he has supported us, he has worked with us, and is working with us on this new bill as well. Among his many accomplishments, he has, something's going on behind the scene. Senator Reid created the Great Basin National Park, Nevada's only national park, and he also, as I said, gets great credit for thinking of the idea and bringing both President Clinton and Al Gore to really put Tahoe on the national map. So I appreciate him. It's a delight for me to be able to work with him. And I'd like to indicate that he has to leave directly following his remarks for a funeral. But give him a big round of applause and please warmly welcome him.
Diane, it's not milk magnesia, it's kaopectic I take. When you come to my Washington office in the Capitol, you walk in and the first thing you see is a picture of Mark Twain. It's the most famous picture ever painted of him. It is from the National Gallery. It's a wonderful, wonderful picture of him in his white suit and his beard and mustache. Some ask when they come in, why would a senator from Nevada have a picture of Mark Twain in the most visible place in his entire office? And I've told many, many people the reason I do that is because Mark Twain was really born in Nevada. And that is true. Mark Twain was fighting in the Civil War, and his brother, Orion Clemens, had been chosen by Abraham Lincoln to be the territorial secretary of the state of Nevada, of the territory of Nevada. And he asked his younger brother, Samuel Clemens, why don't you come to Nevada with me? You'll no longer have to fight in the war, and I'll find you a job. So they traveled west. Orion, his brother, very, very busy as territorial secretary. Mark Twain didn't get a job because of his brother. And as a result of that, he bummed around, and that's actually what he did. He prospected. He came up here to the lake, and he saw the lake for the first time. And he's the first to make it famous in his writings, which came later, by declaring the fairest place on all the earth, Lake Tahoe. Well, Mark Twain, as we know, has had a remarkable career. And Mark Twain really was born in Nevada. He couldn't find a job. He bummed around. Finally, on his own, he went up to Virginia City, which was really booming at the time, and with little education, asked to be hired as a reporter for the Territorial Enterprise newspaper. And it was there in Nevada, in Virginia City, where Samuel Clemens was no longer a person, and Mark Twain became Mark Twain. Now, that's not an original name with Mark Twain. He actually stole the name from a Mississippi riverboat captain. And Mark Twain means Mark here. Mark Twain spent time, and he was a terrific writer from the very beginning, and his style of writing was to letters he would write to various prominent people in Virginia City, and they were biting and very, very hard. And one man didn't like it and challenged him to a duel. And Mark Twain, being the brilliant man that he was and very calculating, left town. He went to San Francisco, where he wrote two immediate bestsellers, The Jumping Frog of Calaveras County and Roughing It. Now, Roughing It is where he wrote for the first time about Lake Tahoe, because Roughing It was his experiences of trying to find a job and bumming around this part of the world. So I have that picture there for a number of reasons. One, of course, is Mark Twain is one of my favorite people. His writings are really unbelievably powerful, but also because of his tie to Nevada. And it means so much more to me than it did when I first hung the picture, because for years I had pictures taken in front of my desk in front of this painting of Mark Twain. And I got a letter a couple years ago from someone in Carson City. He said, I live in Carson City. My grandfather was Frank Larson, who painted that picture there. And I watched him paint pictures as a little boy often. And so that's the reason I have Mark Twain there in my office. And because he is the first person to really focus attention, I repeat, on this wonderful, wonderful marvel we have. I appreciate the things that Diane has said about my idea to get this done. And it was just an idea. Just an idea. And if I have accomplished nothing else in my career, which is longer than Jerry Brown's, if I've accomplished nothing else, I've set in place the summits we hold and the other things that have followed, including $1.5 billion have been spent in this basin since we did this. Money coming from the private sector, from the public sector, of course, state, local governments, and the federal government. It's a time here that's more somber than any time that we've held these summits. The reason being is what's going on in Washington. We have significant financial problems that we're trying to work our way through. And I've spent a good time of my break since we went into recess trying to find the right people to be on this commission that was my idea, this joint committee. And I have confidence and faith that this will work out and allow us next year to have a time when we can look and get some continued help from the federal government in funding and preserving this wonder that we have here. Many have come before my idea to do these summits, to focus attention on this lake. Two very strong members of Congress, one from Nevada and one from California, decided one of the things they needed to do is have the federal government spend a lot of money here in this basin to get rid of some of those private homes that really weren't being built on, and really to make it so that you could do a better job of preserving this place so there would be no fires and things of that nature. So Congressman Burton and Congressman Santini joined together to do the Burton-Santini Act, which has made us able to get rid of a lot of that property in Lake Tahoe, and now it's in the public sector. Huge amounts of money have been spent, and that money has been spent not by taxpayers' money, but by property being sold in southern Nevada. Southern Nevada has done so much for this beautiful lake. People in southern Nevada believe this lake's as much as theirs as someone who lives in Incline Village or South Lake Tahoe. They do that, and they've put their money where their mouth is. Not only for Burton Santini, but the Southern Nevada Land Act. You'll all see there's a brochure that's passed out here that shows what has happened since that legislation was passed. Again, selling land in Southern Nevada for the purpose of doing good things environmentally around the state of Nevada, but a significant amount of that money, a significant amount, to the tune of $300 million has come directly to Lake Tahoe. The bond issue that was passed to have Nevada do its share of public financing of this preservation of this lake came as a result of a heavy vote out of southern Nevada. If Clark County hadn't voted overwhelmingly for this bond issue, it wouldn't have passed. So we have focused on this lake as a state, not as a region. And that's why when we think of this lake, think about this lake as being only one of two like it in the whole world. Lake Baikal in Russia and Siberia is one. The lake we have right here is two. Alpine Glacial Lake. It is partnered by the states of California and Nevada, but you know, it's not California's lake. It's not Nevada's lake. It is not the United States lakes. It's the world's lake. This is a world treasure that we have an obligation to protect. I'm so grateful for everyone here showing your interest in this wonderful treasure that we have. And I'm so thankful that we're going to work this next year, come back next year and have not a somber event where we're really struggling for money, but a celebration, looking forward to having the plan completed at the end of next year and looking forward to many, many years of continuing with this lake. Remember, the work that we've done with Burton Santini, with the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency that has been created, it's all been imperfect work, but it's been good work. Remember, the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency was the vision of two governors, both Republicans, Senators Laxalt and Reagan. And the work that we've been able to do here, also imperfect, but we're all marching to accomplish the same goal, preserving this beautiful facility we have, as Mark Twain said, the fairest place in all the earth.
Thank you very much, Senator Reid. Senator Dean Heller was sworn into the United States Senate only 3 months ago, but he's been a public servant for more than 20 years, including service in as a United States Representative in the House of Representatives, the Nevada Secretary of State, and a Nevada Assemblyman. His work encouraging tourism and renewable energy development has been a great benefit to his state. I must mention that the senator is another transplant, born in Castro Valley, California, and a graduate of USC. So Californians warmly welcome Senator Dean Heller.
Well, thank you very much, Senator, for that very warm welcome, and it is certainly a pleasure to be here. This isn't my first summit. I've attended a number of these summits, but this is the first time I've had an opportunity to address the community. I found out what the difference is I get to sit in the shade. But it really is truly an opportunity to bring groups and organizations together like this, as we've seen over the last couple of days, spend some time together. You know, there's a saying back in Washington, D.C. If you drive into work and you see the globe, you see the Capitol building and you see that dome, and it no longer impresses you, especially at night when you see the lights, turn your car around and go home, because you're done. You know, I think the same way of Lake Tahoe. I don't care what summit you come over. You look into this basin and that doesn't impress you, it's time to turn your car around and go home, because this is an incredible place. And I want to thank, for one, Art, thank you for the opportunity of being here, spending some time here at Homewood. It's a beautiful place, and it's great to be able to gather here. 4 generations of my family have enjoyed this basin. I've been coming here for nearly 50 years and have enjoyed every minute of it. I've served on the board here, the TRPA. I did so for 12 years. And my youngest son currently works with Mike Brown here at the North Lake Tahoe station. You want to take a young boy, turn him into a man, send him off to a few forest fires, right, Mike? Anyway, fortunately, he hasn't been fighting any fires here in this basin. Thank you for your hard work and all of the work that the fire stations have done, but they were sent, crews were sent to Arizona, sent to New Mexico, and of course sent to some of the fires in Washoe. Just goes to show you how important and how critical it is, the work that's being done by these agencies here in this basin. I'm honored to be part of the community, this community of citizens committed to the long-term health and sustainability of this national treasure and the communities that rely on it. The summit is a tremendous opportunity to reflect on the past, present, and future of our efforts to enjoy and protect Lake Tahoe. In the past, there's been a heavy focus on federal government's responsibility. Senator Feinstein's theme today is very timely. It provides a forum to focus on the roles of states, local governments, and the private sector, and how they've played and will continue to play in the future of Lake Tahoe. In fact, it was former governors Laxalt and Reagan who recognized the importance of protecting Lake Tahoe. Senator Laxalt told me that they worried that development was out of control and that unless serious action was taken, Tahoe would turn gray on their watch. And neither of them wanted that to be part of their legacy. The outcome they decided was some form of a regional government to improve the regulatory structure in place at that time. That decision started us down the path to protect the clarity of the lake and to approach the challenges from a regional perspective. Historically, there have been a lot of attention on the threats to the clarity of the lake, such as wildfires, invasive species, irresponsible development, and erosion, all of which are still issues today. I recall former Governor Gwynn saying at the 2004 summit that perhaps the greatest threat to the lake would be a catastrophic wildfire. His statement was a clear call to increase hazardous fuel reductions. And as we saw in 2007 with the Angora fire, Governor Gwen was right. Local, state, and federal fire agencies increased their fuels work, and many homeowners and businesses in the basin stepped up, created defensible space around their properties. Today, perhaps the greatest danger to Tahoe is the threat of aquatic invasive species, like the quagga mussel being introduced to the lake. All we have to do is look at Lake Mead in southern Nevada and see how a devastating quagga mussels would be to Lake Tahoe. I commend the states, all the partners and stakeholders in the basin for working together on an aggressive inspection program that have prevented this from happening thus far. But of course, we have to stay vigilant. Significant progress on this and other issues have been made over the past several years, largely due to the steady funding sources derived from the Southern Nevada Public Lands Management Act, and as we all know, called SNPLMA funds. The real estate boom in Southern Nevada brought more funding to SNPLMA than anyone thought possible, which led the Nevada congressional delegation to amend the act to fully fund the federal responsibility to the EIP programs in the basin. As a result, about $300 million were generated in Nevada that have been dedicated for basin-wide fuels and erosion control projects, invasive species control, travel management, as well as many other projects. And I think that's absolutely remarkable. Unfortunately, as Nevada's economy has struggled, it has also impacted SNPLMA funding, which is no longer a viable long-term funding option. I want to commend the states for their continued dedication to Lake Tahoe, especially in light of the continuing fiscal challenges we are facing. Local governments, fire agencies, businesses, private citizens who have also sacrificed and stepped up to the plate to do their share. Our budget situations means we're facing a new reality where we're going to have to be creative and prioritize where limited funds will be spent. Put simply, we have to learn to do more with less. A large part of the new reality will be taking a hard look at the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency and how it functions. As many of you know, the Nevada legislature recently passed, Governor Sandoval signed a bill that would set certain benchmarks and changes that Nevada wants to be made to get the agency back to its original purpose. As a former chairman of that agency, now is the time to reevaluate the purpose and goals of the agency, prioritize what really needs to be done in the basin, and focus on that. We also need to consider returning some of the regulatory authorities back to the counties and local governments where the needs of the citizens are best served. Like Senator, thank you. Like Senator Laxalt told me, that was the intentions all those years by him and Governor Reagan. Let the planning agency focus on Lake Clarity, leave the regulation of the basin to the state and the counties. We're at a crossroads, but with progress that has been made over the last few years, and with dedicated public and private leaders here in this basin, the states and Washington, D.C., I know that we are up to the task. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to spend a few minutes with you. I want to thank Senator Feinstein for her leadership on this year's summit. I want to thank all my colleagues in the Senate, especially the governors, for their cooperation and working together. And I think we will get real things, good things done here in this basin. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator Heller. I'd like to now introduce Neil Kornza from the Bureau of Land Management of the Department of Interior. Mr. Kornza is the Senior Advisor to BLM Director Bob Abbey and the former Senior Policy Advisor on Public Lands to Senator Reid. He will be announcing the final round of funding from the Southern Nevada Public Land Management Act. Thanks so much for joining us, Neil. Please come forward. Oh, there you are.
Well, I'm excited to be here today to tell you about the worst kept secret at the summit. That the $300 million goal that was set out in the Lake Tahoe Restoration Act by Senator Feinstein and Senator Reid has been met. Today, with the announcement of round 12, which contains $43 million in projects across Nevada. $34 million of that will come to Lake Tahoe to continue critical efforts like recovering the Lahontan cutthroat trout, continuing the great work the Forest Service and local agencies do with hazardous fuels reduction, and keeping open and making more robust the boat inspection programs that are operating today. An incredible amount of work goes into the actions in Southern Nevada that create this money. The folks that get around the table and come up with common priorities here at Lake Tahoe to figure out where this money is going to be most effective. We're very thankful that everyone puts in the time to save this great gem. This has been a great partnership over the last 10 years, 11 years, and Secretary of Interior and Secretary of Agriculture very much look forward to continuing that progress. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Appreciate it. Appreciate the money. And now Jared Blumenfeld is the regional administrator for the Environmental Protection Agency of the federal government. He previously served as director of the San Francisco Department of Environment for 8 years. He's going to be signing the Lake Tahoe total maximum daily load that you have heard so much about this morning, that will set us on a course to hopefully restore Tahoe's historic clarity. A decade of research has gone into this water quality restoration plan, and we hope it dramatically improves the water clarity. Mr. Blumenfeld, Jared, if you'd like to take over.
Are you getting hot? Are you hot already? Yeah? So I'll be quick. On the way in, there was a great exhibition of children's artwork. I have a 12 and a 10-year-old. They can't get enough of Lake Tahoe, but they weren't as eloquent as one of the children that had a picture of Lake Tahoe and the word serene. And to me, keeping Lake Tahoe serene means many different things. We've heard about the fire protection and defensible land. We've heard about invasive species. The part that EPA deals with is lake clarity. So Lake Clarity, as we heard, there's only two places like this, Lake Baikal, which is really very, very far away. None of us, I've not met anyone who's been there, but this is a very, oh, two people, of course, right. This is a very accessible place. That accessibility has led many people, Rochelle and others, the iconic Keep Tahoe Blue logo was something that really was something that galvanized many, many people around California and the rest of the country. 10 years ago, the reason people thought Lake Tahoe was getting less blue was because of algae. EPA and many of the people seated next to you have spent 10 years and $10 million of science dedicated to the effort at looking at why is Lake Tahoe clarity diminishing. So we thought it was algae. Algae actually is about 25% of the problem. The rest of the problem is very, very fine particulate matter. It's actually so fine it's thinner than a human hair. And the senator was asking me yesterday, what's the difference between that and normal dust? Normal dust, the sediment just drops to the bottom of the lake. It doesn't impair the quality of the clarity. This year, the UC Davis team came out with their State of the Lake report. This is the worst year, unfortunately, of lake clarity since 1997, which was the worst year. We're at 64.4 feet. So we have a lot to do, but we know what we can do. That's the importance of science. Science gives us that roadmap. I like to call it a diet for Lake Tahoe. What we are setting out here, and the two governors and I will sign, is that roadmap for the next 65 years. And so many of us may not be here to see 100 feet of lake clarity, but many of the kids will. So this is really an event for them. Much of the responsibility will fall on all of our shoulders. This isn't a case where the federal government can come in and fix it, or state government, or regional entities, or the board of supervisors, or the local council. It will take everyone. Everyone making a concerted effort. In some cases it may cost more money, in some cases it's doing things differently. It's taking a bicycle trip to the store instead of driving. It's saying, you know, finally in South Lake Tahoe we want to have a storm drain and a curb and a sidewalk like other cities. All those things will help what we need to do, but we need to be flexible. We need to listen to local government. And we also need to listen to the Washoe tribe. So we consulted with the Washoe on this TMDL. They said, this is a great first step. We'd like you to be even more protective of the waters that serve us for all these thousands of years. So every single year, the goal between now and the next 65 years is to get half a foot of clarity back. So every 2 years, 1 foot. And we have very concrete goals and measures of accountability to get us there. This document really relied on all of you. There's probably very few of you who weren't involved in the last 10 years in making this happen. So it really is a momentous occasion. And many people said, are we done now? And the answer is, this is just the beginning. This is the beginning of implementation. Some of that's already begun. Harold and Leo and many of the people that have already been acknowledged have spent years saying, this is what we need to do. Could EPA get with us? The state of California and the state of Nevada have done this together. So when you heard the two governors talking about what they could do together, this is a great example of that action. So the two documents that will be signed today are mirror images of each other because the lake is in both Nevada and California. We need to continue working with all of you to make sure that what we're doing is cost effective. Placer County and Jennifer here did a report saying, what is the most cost effective way of reducing this fine particles? And is it building a collection system and a treatment system for stormwater, or is it buying HEPA filters and more advanced street sweepers for around the lake? It turns out it's 20 times cheaper to do that. And before we have the signing, I'm going to do, it worked pretty well yesterday, except Senator Reid spilled most of the dust on him. So today so actually last year I got this from Washoe County. They've already invested in these street sweepers, and it's very, you can see it because there's so much of it, but it's incredibly, incredibly fine particles of dust. And then yesterday when we were at Senator Feinstein's lunch, we got the opportunity of getting some lake water, and this is my remedial magic trick. So as you can see, it stays pretty much clear, but the water in Lake Tahoe moves a lot. Wind blows it, there's currents, and so it starts moving around. And soon you can't see through it at all. So this is the challenge that faces us. A very, very teeny bit of dust, of this very fine particulate dust, can cause a great deal of disclarity in the lake. So the plan we're setting out for the next 65 years, some people said, is 65 years too long? We need it sooner. This isn't a very aggressive target. And just for all of you, when you think back, there's not always going to be a direct correlation between the reduction in the amount of fine particle and the amount of clarity. Sometimes there'll be a gap of a few years, sometimes a gap of even more time, but we need to see that line in clarity going up, and that's what we will do today. So today we're signing I'm going to read it before we sign it. It's a Lake Tahoe clarity commitment. We agreed to implement the steps required to restore lake clarity to a depth of 71 feet by 2016, 78 feet by 2026, and 97.4 feet by 2076. Signed this day, 16th of August, 2011, with the two governors and EPA. So now we're going to do the signing.
We'd like to take a moment and honor two groups that have been so integral to the success of the private-public partnership at the lake. The first are the founding members of something called the Prosperity Center, with Steve Teixeira, B. Gorman, and Michael Ward. Please come on stage with me. I'd like to give them a proclamation which points out and recognizes their valuable service to Lake Tahoe. Founded in 2007 by Steve Teixeira, B. Gorman, and Michael Ward, the Lake Tahoe Basin Prosperity Center has dedicated itself to the critical task of promoting collaboration between many agencies, citizen groups, and business interests in the basin. So what they have tried to do, ladies and gentlemen, is bring people together to solve problems. And goodness knows we need more of that. So I would like to recognize them with this proclamation from me saying thank you very much. We'll give each And the second group is the Tahoe Fund. And I'd like to recognize the original members of the Tahoe Fund, the wonderful Cindy Gustafson, Art Chapman, Tom Mertens, Roger Wittenberg, Patrick Wright, and Jim Lawrence. Would you please come forward? Cindy, come on. These are truly wonderful people who care very deeply, and they have provided great service to this lake. This was launched in 2009 by Patrick, Cindy, Art, Tom, and Roger, and Jim, and it was established as a nonprofit organization that would work in partnership with the basin's public agencies in funding environmental and recreational projects in and around the lake. They have provided the private share of funding for high priority projects. The Tahoe Fund has been and will continue to be an invaluable part of the private-public partnership of this lake. We hope it'll grow. I cannot tell you how important it is that these people succeed. So please be a part of it. It's an open membership. These people, talk to them. They'd love to have you join and help us with the lake. So Cindy, I'm going to give this to you, and we'll get one for each of you to say thank you. Please give them a big round of applause. Thank you so much. Okay, we're getting close. Now we have an interesting thing. I want to introduce Michael Ward. Please don't leave. I want you to hear this because this is the community now. He's the project manager for the Lake Tahoe Basin Prosperity Plan. Earlier this month, in preparation for this summit, communities around the lake held discussion panels to offer input for the summit. We wanted to hear directly from local business owners, homeowners, and others of their vision for the lake. And so today, Michael Ward is going to talk a little bit about the panels introduce the panelists, and we'd like to hear their reports. It'll just take 20 minutes. It's important to know what people who live here and work here think needs to be done on this great lake. Michael, take it over.
Thank you. Good morning. It's just an absolute honor and privilege for me to be asked by my colleagues to support rounding off the distinguished remarks you've already heard today by bringing a community voice into this summit. I think it's a necessary addition. Before I introduce the panel of volunteers who participated in the roundtables that Senator Feinstein invited us to convene, let me just say that a large number of people participated in 4 roundtables on the North and South Shore. They were business leaders, civic leaders, but they were also residents in the basin, agency representatives, and people who simply live, work, and play here and share in the overall commitment to stewardship here in the basin. And what we found was that their comments, their ideas, and their interests were both harmonious and specific. And I would summarize it this way. They said that preservation and the future sustainability of the lake requires engagement on the ground at the local community level as well as at the government and agency level. Think top down, bottom up. A summary report was produced of the roundtable input, and it includes better than 14 sets of recommendations in each of 3 areas that we have themed as follows: stewardship, innovation, and renewal. This particular report, the summary report, is now available for download as a PDF on the TahoeProsperity.org website. That's www.tahoeprosperity.org. You can download the report directly. Rather than speaking from the report, we've asked a panel of volunteers to help us breathe a little life into these themes of stewardship, innovation, and renewal. Let's begin with stewardship. The report concludes that effective stewardship requires actions that sustain the natural environment by promoting prosperity and community vitality. I think we all get that, we understand that. The roundtable participants, whatever their background, fully understood that aging infrastructure, environmental threats that have been so nicely enumerated by Senator Feinstein in the beginning and built on by our distinguished speakers, in combination with lack of adequate capital to renew our communities, are our major stewardship challenges. An important conclusion by the participants was that stewardship is really a call to action, but requires education for people to understand how to participate and how to engage. While the report emphasizes very specific recommendations in the application of regional planning and science to the mitigation, including the new roadmap for TMDL, to mitigation of environmental threats, to water quality, managing aquatic invasive species, and forest health, we also understand that stewardship is a voluntary act by individuals who are inspired to actions and commitments without specific mandate. And in that spirit, I would like to invite our first speaker. I'm pleased to introduce Stellar Lufrano. Stellar Lufrano, please get that right, was born on the South Shore at Barton Memorial Hospital not too long ago. Her personal career path, her values, and her aspirations, I think you will find, symbolize what I would call the call to stewardship in ways that position her as an emerging leader in the future prosperity and sustainability of the Lake Basin. Stellar, talk to us a little bit about your journey and your story and breathe some life into that.
First off, while this is a serious issue to me, I just want to let you know I am beaming with happiness at the chance to sit in front of you and share my story. Thank you. First, I would like to thank the state leaders for not only listening to me on this topic, but for holding this event in the first place. With all the economic turmoil throughout the country, it is easy to forget how vital Lake Tahoe is when you have larger communities like Las Vegas, Reno, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. I have studied, worked, and played the majority of my life in northern Nevada, and Lake Tahoe has been at the center of these experiences. Although I moved to San Francisco to study entrepreneurship, I returned home because I knew this was the best place to start and grow a skate and snowboard equipment company. Sadly, over the years, I have watched Lake Tahoe's infrastructure and appeal deteriorate. It is difficult for entrepreneurs like me to set up a brick-and-mortar shop and instead opt for the less expensive, higher probability of success online store. That has to change. Communities, jobs, and the well-being of those around us cannot grow out of online stores. While I have always cared about the lake, I found myself referencing its beauty when I shape my business venture and how my products affect the planet. The last thing I wanted to contribute to was more waste. I visit the beaches, hike the trails, find trash, and scream. The foundation for obtaining my marketing and sustainability MBA at the University of Nevada, Reno is in jeopardy. My inspiration to create renewable action sports equipment and my passion for the environment and all it has to offer has turned into a trash bin. If we remain uneducated, the viewpoint will expand that individuals can't make a difference. People grow selfish and cynical to the point that many of them believe that the inspection of boats for invasive species is simply regulatory agencies interfering in their lives. This is needed to keep our lake beautiful and healthy. We must revive the process of protecting this gem and sustaining the life of the lake, its creatures, and its residents. I fear that integrity no longer exists, and for those who will only do what is right when people are looking, there's no one watching. This is why it is vital that all of us take a stand, instill accountability, and understand that we are in charge of fixing these problems. I love this lake and know that anyone who has ever seen it, swam in it, or lied on its beaches loves it too. But now is the time to stop talking and start doing, before its glory is nothing but a memory. This area has shaped who I am and the quality of life I experience. It is credited with building my business, supplying me with double black diamonds, and giving me that summer glow. For as long as I can remember, I have always told myself I want to own a home in Tahoe. Sadly, it won't be that $5 million private property beachfront, but I know I will always give back to the lake because of everything it has given me. Thank you.
So stewardship begins with the commitment of individuals, and it starts with one. The second theme that emerged out of a broad array of input from the participants in the community roundtables was a focus on the power of innovation. In particular, we understand that creating a sustainable economy depends on our leveraging the economic sectors that already thrive here. Prosperity Plan was able to shine a little bit of light on that by suggesting that health and wellness, environmental innovation, and visitor services and tourism, in particular geotourism, are those sectors. Targeting resources, including private capital, which has been mentioned so many times today, to promote healthy and sustainable communities has to be part of the public-private, or perhaps in this case, private-public mix. And collaboration through strategic alignment and partnerships within and across all agencies, as Senator Heller, I think, emphasized, and jurisdictions working in the basin will be key to our success going forward. In the spirit of talking about an enterprise operating within the basin that's fully mature, but is looking to innovation to help the organization thrive, and in so doing help the community thrive, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing my friend to the panel, Dr. Clint Purvance, the Chief Medical Officer at Barton Health, also an emergency room physician at Barton Memorial Hospital. Clint is a lifelong Nevada resident. He completed his medical degree at the University of Nevada School of Medicine and did his residency at the University of Michigan. Dr. Purvance has brought innovative solutions to the development of clinical service lines, which have improved both quality and access to care for the community served by Barton Health, which, by the way, is both California and Nevada-based patients. If you traveled between Carson City and the East Shore over the winter time over Highway 50 and Spooner Summit, you would have seen his picture gracing the billboard on the south side of the pass. For quite a long time, I view him as the guy who welcomes us to the east side of Tahoe. And with that, I'd like you to welcome him. Let's talk about innovation.
Thank you, Michael. Well, it's a pleasure to be here and have an opportunity to speak to all of you. And for those who are sitting out there without sunscreen, we'll try to be brief, and Senator Gaines will provide free consultation for you after this is over for your sunburn. So, no, it looks like you have yours on today. So, but welcome to Lake Tahoe. This is a national treasure, and I represent an organization, Barton Health, which is one of the largest public providers of care, providers of services. Private providers of services in all of Lake Tahoe and the basin. We employ over 900 employees in the Lake Tahoe basin, and for us, our vision with innovation really focuses around not only healthcare delivery, but also having sustainable environments, sustainable families, and stewardship. We realize that if we don't have families that can grow up and live here, and I'm very blessed to have my family here in the back today who lives in Tahoe, and it's an opportunity for younger generations to be good stewards of this environment that we work in and that we live in, and we have to trust this to them. If we have a 65-year plan, most of us won't be here, but the younger generations will be to see that plan forth. So innovation is critical in an environment like Tahoe, where we have a lot of regulation, a lot of environmental needs to keep the lake clear. And big business, or bigger businesses like ours, which is private, really has to partner with public agencies and with our local and state senators and representatives so that we can help shape policy and we can help make Tahoe a better working environment for the families that live here as well. And to give you several examples of innovation, I learned innovation from my father, who's been working at new methods to solve some unsolvable problems, not like what we're seeing in healthcare right now. Since this isn't a healthcare conference, I won't mention too much about it, but it does consume over 17% of healthcare expenditures of our GDP here in this great nation. And the largest demographics of those who utilize healthcare are over 65, and now our baby boomers are entering into those demographics. So we have some real challenges ahead. And as local resources are becoming more scarce from a government standpoint, the private sector, like at Barton Health, had to step forward to come up with innovative solutions to partner with our local governments to make a difference for the care we provide. So I'm going to outline just several programs that we've worked on, which are programs which are now being brought to other communities like ours, which has been a pleasure to share that with surrounding communities as well. One was a project that Michael Ward worked with us on, and it was a need when we had our community health in the South Lake Tahoe region. That department downsized, and as it did, it left a lot of residents who required psychiatric care without care. And largely our hospital and our health center and our community clinic became the provider of care for those patients. And it was imperative that we had a solution for them so that we could keep those people who had those medical needs active in our community, working and productive members of our society. And without the opportunity to transport them to Placerville, we had to find a solution here locally to maintain them at a stable state. And so one of the solutions we had was we provided a telemedicine consultation. So via the internet, we used providers from outside of our service area to provide psychiatric services to meet those needs. And largely that's been hugely successful. It's kept those patients at a stable baseline. It's kept them working in our communities, and it's also kept them out of our ER, where the cost of care is so much more expensive. So that was one innovative solution that we partnered with our local government to try to solve an unsolvable, at that time, unsolvable problem. Another partnership that we have in this Great Tahoe Basin, tourism obviously drives our economy. And what we've realized, if you look behind you, you have this great mountain, and we'd love you all to ski, and we're very fortunate that we're here to provide services when you fall. And we're not wishing that you fall and injure yourself, but when you do, we want to provide the best care that we can. And so we work with our local EMS, we work with our local providers of care, and we've developed a Tahoe Center of Orthopedics, which is now a virtual innovative center that has a lot of moving parts to provide the right care to the right people at the right time in our community. And it's a patient-centered focused model. When we embarked on this endeavor, it was a bad economy. We were told it would be very challenging to have this project move forward. However, what we've seen is just large growth, not only in volumes, but in regional referrals. And now we're entering into the tourism market, which not only helps our organization on the private side, but it also helps the public and many other private organizations in the transportation and lodging businesses as well. And so we seek partnerships with lodging and transportation businesses to provide services for those that come to seek care here at our facilities. And last, I want to mention health and wellness, because we have a model in healthcare which is really built around illness. And I know that's surprising to everybody, but when you get ill or you're sunburned, you come to see providers. Today, I'll do it free of charge, but if you go to a healthcare provider, it's an expense in your illness model. And that's how we get paid as providers. And the movement is, how do we have a wellness society? What do we do around wellness? And community wellness is incredibly important for sustainability for every community, but for ours as well. Without a healthy, well community, we won't have participants walking on these great trails, keeping them safe for visitors, clean environments, and also, a wonderful treasure that we maintain. And so we're very focused on wellness. Just yesterday, we met with our city manager, and I don't know if Tony O'Rourke is here, but Tony, if you're here, I'd ask you to stand, just to discuss what are the opportunities for private organizations like Barton Health to partner with government and with public entities, because we realize that the public entities and the government, they're underfunded right now. They're underutilizing resources, and largely if we work together, maybe we can have opportunities so that on the private side we don't have to build a new structure, but we can use either existing structure or land to help meet those needs. And as we move forward in this regulatory arena that we live in, I'll also mention that we're very, very interested in working with regulatory agencies, because we also want to protect the lake as a private industry moves forward with potential development in this basin. And our goal is to protect the environment and to do it in an economically friendly way for those who seek to have development here as well, those who seek to live here and to have long-term prosperity here. So we look for private and public partnerships, and we're just thankful to have the opportunity to embrace those and engage in those in this community. Thank you.
I had an opportunity a couple of years ago to suggest to Dr. Purvance that maybe we could get our visitors authorities to sponsor wild and reckless sports days as a way of, as an economic stimulus to the ortho clinic, but nobody bit on that recommendation. The third theme that emerged from the community roundtables was a very strong emphasis on renewal. And if there was one thing that really, really stood out for the participants, whatever their backgrounds, it was focusing on connected multimodal transportation systems. People understand that the most direct causal linkage to TMDL challenges is probably human mobility here within the basin, and our tremendous need to reduce, not eliminate, but reduce reliance on private automobiles. It's, as you have heard repeatedly, the roundtable participants also understood that revitalization of the built environment and facilitating more compact built environments with more restoration of sensitive environmental zones were necessary ingredients of a total solution. I have the pleasure of introducing Ty Pilastri to talk to us about the importance of what we will call complete streets under the broader theme of community renewal. And let me suggest that Ty is a native Californian. I love his background. He has a lifelong connection with Lake Tahoe, and that connection inspired him to earn his college degree in geography and ecology, to build a career in sports marketing and pursue an avocation in spiritual ministry and life coaching. He is the founder, current president of a 501c3 entity. It is the Lake Tahoe Bicycle Coalition. he pursued this direction as a way for building a more people-centric community while also helping mitigate environmental issues and stimulating the economy. And he's going to explain what people-centric actually means. Please welcome Ty Pilastri.
Thank you, Mike, and welcome everyone. It's great to see you, and this is quite an honor for the Lake Tahoe Bicycle Coalition to be amidst the dignitaries and the public that is so committed to transforming this great place that we live in. Just out of curiosity, how many of you have ever ridden a bicycle? How many of you continue to ride your bicycle? I'm impressed. That's not the norm. It just shows you the active lifestyle that we enjoy so much here. But the number one reason people stop riding their bicycle is because they don't feel safe. They don't feel safe to ride to work, to school, errands, go to the beach, and we need to change that. It wasn't too long ago, 2005, 2007, where many of us in this audience, I'm sure, participated in the place-based workshops called Pathways 2007. Over 2,000 people participated in that. They took magic markers and aerial photographs and charted out the vision they held for this lake. And out of that came some consensus that we needed a people-centric community with a multimodal transportation system and sustainability. Well, what is people-centric? Well, the way I look at it is that when people walk and ride their bike, they become more intimate with their surroundings. They become aware of the air they breathe. They become more contacted with one another. They make eye contact. They feel their bodies working. And they see businesses they may have not seen before, and they stop and they shop, eat, and drink. It's a slower space where the environment presses up against us and penetrates us. How do we plan for a more people-centric community? Well, one way is to change the context of how we see the community. What if from this context, the roadway was a lifeway? The lifeway was an avenue for livability. And from this context, we start looking at the curb side, not from within the boundaries of the roadway, but we look at the boundaries from building to building, spanning the streetscape. When we start looking at the roadway in the downtown area from a streetscape perspective, we see things very differently. We see activity, people moving, we see businesses, we see lots of uses. We see children playing, adults working, people strolling. We see elderly and disabled moving with ease and safety. The streets are a streetscape of aliveness full of vitality and commerce, rich in color and texture, with places for people to commune with nature and each other. There's another way of creating people-centric community, and that's at the planning table with highway engineers, behaviorists, economic development specialists, and local government representatives, speaking about the uses of the buildings on the streetscape and reframing the design parameters to include a more humanistic approach to the mobility of people, goods, and services. For example, when you look down the downtown corridor and we see numerous restaurants, wouldn't it be cool if we made more room on the sidewalk so that we could have outdoor dining? There might be a business of elderly residential areas who have hearing, sight, and mobility impairment. It's essential that we accommodate for them. We may need to restructure safety, provide different kinds of traffic modality and signals for this population. There may be a vacant lot just down the street that we can transform into a community park where people commune with nature and each other. When we begin to look at the people's needs and activities and the uses of buildings on the streetscape, we begin rehumanizing ourselves, and we set the stage for reclaiming our community where the automobile is no longer the dominant user of the streetscape, but rather one element of a multimodal transportation plan. Another word that we call this phenomena of the streetscape that I describe as complete streets. And they are consistent with the Tahoe Regional Planning Compact mandate to reduce dependency on the automobile and greenhouse gas emissions. It meets Pathway 2007 mandates, the Prosperity Plan, and is under mandate by the state of California. We know what needs to be done. We need leadership and collaboration among federal, state, local agencies, and private sector to work together to co-design our communities, develop cost-effective investment strategies and efficient policies that enable us to begin reshaping our communities for the 50 million California residents who will be descending upon us in the coming decades, who will be coming here with the intent of restoring and rejuvenating their spirit, reconnecting with family and friends, and giving a go at the new challenges that may have been or may include bicycling, hiking, water skiing, shopping, and all the other activities that we enjoy as the Tahoe lifestyle. So you see, it's not really about the bicycle alone. But when a community accommodates for the bicycle, it becomes the vehicle that sets in motion a transformation for accompanying the users on the streetscape and sends a clear message that we care about the long-term health of our communities, the environment, and the economy. At the Lake Tahoe Bicycle Coalition, we are doing our part to promote, educate, and move toward a more livable and sustainable Lake Tahoe. Ride with us as we move to restore the heart, the vitality, and the safety of our communities for generations to come. Thank you.
On behalf of the panel, the many citizens of Lake Tahoe that participated in the roundtables, we thank you for your time, your attention, and your collaborative commitment to the concepts of stewardship, innovation, and renewal here in the Lake Tahoe Basin. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. I'm going to ask the governors to, and Senator Heller to join me in the next thing. We have a lot of young people who have done a lot of wonderful art, and art speaks what you think about this great lake. And I'd like to have them come up here. We're going to present awards to the winners of the Lake Tahoe Youth Art Contest, which has been hosted by the Tahoe Fund. So if the governors and the young people would join me here. Hello. We have, Rebecca Miller? You're Rebecca. We have Aria Daintree, and we have Serena Picciunono. All right, the three of you are here. It's my understanding that you have done a great joint project, which is an art collage. Is that right? And isn't that hanging, where is it hanging? Right on what? Oh, right on the boards there. And so you have a prize, and I'm going to ask the governors to give these certificates to you, one to each, and shake your hand. And Senator, and thank you very much, and please give them a big round of applause. And we also have, don't leave yet, we have Quinn Parker. Quinn, and you've done a painting, and you want to just tell us what the painting is quickly? Come over here. Atta girl.
It's a painting of the aspen forest in South Lake Tahoe.
Oh, great. And where is it hanging? Right over there, too. Everybody look at it. And Krisha Penalar, will you come and tell us a little bit about what you have?
I did a collage of a bear and just nature stuff.
Oh, good. Nature stuff. Okay. Well, here are two more, if you would, Governor Sandoval, and he'll present you with these certificates. And we'll give you all, thank you very much. Do you like to draw? I do too. I think it's just great. So keep it up. Congratulations, and thank you very much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go save Tahoe. Thank you.